Hey, welcome to the new Bluejay Banter podcast. We are so glad that you found us. For all you great fans out there who have listened to us over the years, thank you for joining us. It's going to be the same great show, just more enhancements that I think you're going to really enjoy. For the new viewers, welcome aboard. This is your home to the best Jays coverage around. To all of our great viewers tonight, please click on the subscribe button below. It really helps us out. Click on the like button as well. We got a fantastic show for you tonight. I'm joined by Ross Ferrarini. Hey, Ross.
Yeah.
Great to see you. You look great in that Bluejay cap, by the way.
Let it fly. That's the mantra, baby.
Yes, it is. Hey, just a quick recap of our show tonight. Ben Schultzberg here will join us in a minute. The new Jay this year. We'll ask him how everything has gone so far in the first couple of weeks of practice. We'll have a fall sports update for you. And then Ross and I are kind of going to go in depth on the conference schedule game by game, take a look at that. And then later on, our fine producer Zach Weaver, will have some questions for us, for Ross and I to answer. As always, as you can see down on the screen, our wonderful sponsors, please support them. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally, and West Pacific Dental Group and Dr. Robert Hogan, both very, very big Creighton Bluejay fans, so support them at all. So without further ado, let's bring him on. The man, the myth, the legend from California, Mr. Ben Schultzberg. Ben, how are you?
What's up, guys? How are you? I'm great.
We're fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
We were just talking a little bit off air about the weather. You're gonna love it here in a few months. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can't wait. You know, I don't have a puffer yet, so I might struggle in the beginning, but we'll see. We'll see how.
Before we get to what's been going on recently, I just want to give our viewers a little bit of a some background on you, Ben. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Your AU team, and a little about your family.
So I grew up in like a suburb of Los Angeles called Northridge. It was a very nice area. I grew up with like both of my parents. Grew up in a Jewish household, but I've gone to Catholic school like my whole life, so I'm kind of used to everything that we're learning here at Creighton. And then I decided to come here because of like just the connections, the relationships, and it just felt like home when I came on my visit, and I felt that this gave me the resources to kind of like make my dreams come true on and off the court. And it's been great ever since. I don't regret my decision at all.
Yeah, I know when you came for your visit, I had a chance to talk to you, and I met your sister.
Yeah.
Are you missing her?
Yeah, I am. That's the one thing that like kind of sucks. I miss my family a lot. I was very close with my parents, especially my dad and my sister, and my mom as well. So kind of just missing like the conversations we would have at night during dinner. But I call them pretty often, so it's been a pretty good deal, I think.
Are they planning to come to a lot of games?
Yeah, they'll be at a lot, I'm pretty sure. Hearing from the sides.
Well, they can go right up the road to Vegas. That won't be very far.
Yeah, that should be good. And then Maui would be great because none of us have ever been to Hawaii except my dad. So it'll be a nice little experience. So get like a little 10-day vacation there. So that should be fun.
Nice,
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
So Ben, where are some other schools that you looked at who are recruiting you, and what ultimately made you decide to come, almost halfway across the country where you're from to Creighton?
Yeah. So I was recruited by a lot of different schools. A couple in the Big East: Xavier, Butler, Rutgers, Virginia Tech, USC as well. But ultimately, like, the thing that stood out most to me was kind of like, it was a combination of the play style and just my relationship with the coaches. I kind of just felt like the history here behind the development of the guards and the coach's belief in me that I could like kind of step in and develop in that similar fashion. It was very empowering for me, and I really felt that when I came here, and from then on I just kind of knew it was home behind my mind.
Yep. for those that haven't seen you play, tell us a little bit about your game.
Well, I'm a bigger guard, I would say. I can play the point guard and the shooting guard position. I think honestly my best attribute is my playmaking. I study the game a lot with my trainer back home. We watch a lot of film, and I think that's kind of like one of the things that I've really honed in on is kind of being able to make everyone around me better. But I shoot it very well, like most people who come here. Um, and with my size, I'm able to crash the boards. I'm able to do a lot of things defensively as well. So, I like to think I'm dynamic, but I have a lot to grow in a lot of different places. So I'm just trying to get better every day.
Sure. For the fans who are at Bird Club Madness, they can attest that you are a bigger guard. You're one of the bigger guards out there.
Yeah.
Number two, you showed your size because you like to get to the rack a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to ask you, I think it R2 came down, kind of hit a step back three, and then I think you came down the next trip down. Was that kind of like, I can show you what I can do?
I think more like the Bluejay Madness thing was just like kind of just having fun, I think. But if everyone's gonna start shooting these like crazy shots, I'm gonna show that I can do it as well. I'm gonna sit in the back. But ultimately, we're just trying to give the fans a show and kind of show them what we're about this year.
Yeah. So you came over here in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to a lot of players throughout the years, and it's a big change for them suddenly going from high school and AU ball into Division I. So if you can think back to the summer, the first couple of workouts and so forth, what was kind of in your mind after the first, say, week or so? I mean, did something like stick in your mind, like it was easier than you thought, harder than you thought, more challenging? What was it?
So my journey has kind of been like, it's been very like up and down, as it is for like most freshmen. When I first came here, I thought I was playing pretty well. And the biggest difference was kind of just the physicality, honestly. Guys are just so much bigger and look to like absorb the contact way like better than they did when I was younger. So that, and then as we started to especially recently as official practice start, just the pace of the game is just incredibly faster. We play so much faster and so much more high intensive, that you have to be in great shape in order to play effectively, I think. But every day is kind of its own journey, some days are better than others. It's about just staying even kill and staying consistent to a routine and getting your work in outside of practice, and everything will work out in the end for all of us.
So Ben, the first week of practice here, what have you taken away from it? What have you seen from Coach McDermott and the rest of the coaching staff? As I'm sure you're finding out, their demeanor practice is probably a little bit different than when they recruited you. That's just kind of how it goes in college hoops, and you're adjusting. So I just wanted to get a few of your takeaways from practice so far.
Well, first of all, we have like an incredibly talented and unselfish group, I think. We have so many guys who are able to pass, dribble, shoot. And within our offense, it just makes us so dynamic, I think, especially if we can all hone in to playing with each other and trusting each other. And I think the biggest thing just is not focusing on the rankings. It's about keeping that chip on our shoulders that they had last year and applying that to, I think, a more talented team this year. And if we have that mindset, I think we can go really far. But I've learned a lot, man. It's been great, I think, especially defensively, because the defense here is very different than anything I've done. And just always going out there, and you have to give it your all every single play, or else you'll get exposed because you're playing at a much higher level.
Who's been the toughest defender on you so far in practice?
So the toughest person who's guarded me?
Yeah.
Sharif.
Yeah, he can get after you.
He can guard. And me and him, like, I kind of go at him a little bit. So I'll say some things here and there to kind of bug him. And when I do that, he always like kind of ups it up a little bit. But it's gonna make me better in the long run because he's a great defender. yeah, definitely Sharif, I think, right now, as of right now.
That's interesting because there's quite a size difference between you guys. Yet
Yeah,
he's
but
like a bulldog on defense, though.
yeah, but he plays a little bigger than what his size shows, especially defensively.
Ben, what are your first impressions of Ryan Kalkbrenner and Baylor Shireman and Arthur
Mm-hmm.
Kluma and some of these guys that have Ryan Nemhard that have gotten a lot of national,
Mm-hmm.
pub and buzz, and what have they been like in practice, and going up and competing against them every day? What's that been like?
Oh, it's been great. It's one of like the many reasons I decided to come here is so I can compete with them and learn from them. Because that's only going to get me better. I'm trust the process, and if I learn from them and apply what they do very well, it'll only make me better. But individually, like Kalk is just an incredible big. He's by far the best big I've ever played with, especially defensively. I think just the combination of his size and his skill, it just makes, and his IQ as well, especially defensively, just makes him so dynamic. And then Ryan Nemhard is definitely the hardest player I've had to guard thus far. I don't know, he's just so crafty, and he's so good at just making everyone around him better. So not only like it's difficult to guard him, it's also I love playing with him as well because he just makes everyone better. And so same thing as Baylor. Just Baylor's biggest thing that I've learned especially is just the way that he moves without the ball. It's something that I don't think I do personally very well. And just being able to watch him, go into these ghost screens and just kind of just run around and kind of set screens and do different things off the ball. I think it just makes him better offensively, and it makes us better as a whole.
Yeah, and that's an aspect of Creighton's offense that is so good, and it takes a while to adjust to that. When you're coming up in AAU in high school, like you're the guy, you got the ball in your hands, calling for pick and rolls, like, and you got to learn to play that way once you get on a really talented team and college.
Yeah.
So that's great that you've already picked that up so early. That some of these guys are so good at that, because that's all that's going to do is make you better as far as how can I move it without the ball? How can I set screens for other people? That'll get me open. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And it's something you don't really have to do much in high school, as you said, especially because some of the players around you might not be as talented. So you're much more involved in it. But then if you learn to be effective as you are on the ball, off the ball, it just makes you a way better player. So it's been great, I think.
And you mentioned you came to Creighton because of the talented players. There's so many. This is by far the deepest team Creighton's ever had. Do you already, we're early into the official practice season, I understand, but do you already feel like there's huge competition each and every day? Because, the bigger impression you get, the more minutes a guy's going to get. And there's only so many minutes to go around with this much talent.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've prepared very, I put countless hours, and time in on and off the court, so the competition aspect of it wasn't something I was going to be afraid of. I'm going to go in, I'm going to just work my hardest, and whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. And that's just how I approach it. That's how I've been raised. So, and I think that's how this team is built. I don't think anyone's really scared of the competition. And I think, in the end of it, whoever gets that playing time is just going to play better as a result of that. And whoever deserves it should get the playing time. That's what I believe.
No doubt. We'd like to mention too, Ben's been great tonight, and we just are thrilled to have him. We also want to mention that Ben has signed on with us an NIL deal with Bluejay Banter. So if you want to see more of Ben, you need to sign up at bluejaybanter.com, the rival site, because Ben's going to do some Zooms with us like this. We'll break down some film. We'll have him obviously on our show a lot more, and we are thrilled to have Ben, and he's so well spoken and such a great credit to Creighton already in his freshman year. How's school going already?
School's great. Balancing practice and academics is not easy. Definitely been a challenge a little bit. to adjust, and the kind of like just the speed of how the teachers move is just so different. But if you have good time management, everything will be okay.
Yeah. Who's your roommate?
So I have my own room, but I have a suite
Nice.
mate. Yeah, it's a great situation. But my suite mate is Jason Green.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Local guy.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We can show you around then.
Yeah, he has. He definitely has.
Ben, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck.
Sure.
I know I'm going to see you next Tuesday at Media Day, and we'll chat some more then. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me on.
You bet, Ben. Thanks. That's Ben Schultzberg, everybody. Wow. He's yeah. If I would have told you to guess what year in school he is, like it's amazing. He's the maturity he has for a freshman.
Yeah, he and the things that I've heard are very positive reviews about his game. I think he's a kid that really knows how to play. Obviously, he can shoot it, and that's if you have size as a guard and you can shoot it and you really have a nice feel for the game, it's the sky's kind of the limit. So I'm going to be really interested to see how Ben develops this year, and obviously he alluded to it when you asked him, Tim, about the minutes, and there's not enough minutes to go around for everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of develops for a guy like him. But I'm excited for his development, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm just thinking those practices have got to be. I mean, especially as we inch closer toward the first game, guys got to at that point have an idea of like, okay, right now I'm probably, eighth or ninth or whatever it is, or second or third off the bench on my position. I've got to really ramp this up. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. So I bet you the practices are crazy.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, that's a level of competition that you can't really replicate unless you got like the guys, unless you got the horses, exactly. And they do. And those guys are like, a guy like Sharif Mitchell, he doesn't want to lose minute. Like, this is his fourth year in college. He's had some injuries. He wants to prove that he's a guy that should be a part of the conversation. And so it's got to make for some competitive practices.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to the fall sports update, I just want to mention one of our great sponsors, Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. They do answer the phone at the first ring. Check out both locations on 204th over there in Elkhorn and also in the Old Mill area, just north of the TD Ameritrade headquarters. Doug Nogard, president, does a fantastic job. His staff is so friendly and helpful. They will be a bank you will be very happy with. They are the bank of Bluejay Banter, and we have been thrilled to have them as a partner. So check them out, Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. They've been a tremendous sponsor for us, and I think you'll really enjoy the services they will provide. So something we just haven't checked in on. So let's check in on the fall sports right now. We're just going to run down, first of all, women's soccer. They beat Providence yesterday, 2-0 at home, and they moved to 6-2-4. They've had 4 ties already. They are 2-2 in the Big East, tied for 4th place. So a good spot there to, so far so good to make the Big East tournament. Keelan Terrell was named Big East Goalkeeper of the Week. So congratulations to her. They will take on St. John's out in Jamaica next Thursday night. Men also had a victory Saturday, 3-1 over Villanova. They moved to 4-2-3 on the season, 1-1-1 in Big East play, and they will be home at Morrison Stadium on Saturday against St. John's, 6:30 start on the pitch at Morrison on campus. I'm going to throw in golf here because the golf program, as we've talked about, has ramped up significantly over the last couple of years. And going on right now, we have some things going on right locally. So the women who won the something called the Kelsey Chug Invitational, interesting name. They won the tournament a couple weeks ago. Catherine Lemke, who obviously won the Big East last year, made the NCAA tournament. She tied for second in that event. And today they were out at Oak Hills Country Club in the Big O, in the ladies' Big O Invitational. The scoring site that they have up, I'm a little bit iffy on it, but I think the best I can do is Creighton's currently sitting in 6th out of 14 teams. So they didn't have their best day, but there's some there's some good Southern schools that are in this event, so it's a pretty competitive event. Gabby Tremblay led the way with a 2 over par 148 for the first 2 rounds. They will wrap it all up tomorrow out at Oak Hills. And then the men are out at the club at Indian Creek for the Big O Men's Classic. They have a 3-shot lead heading into tomorrow over Wichita State.
Right.
Sean Campbell.
I must have missed, and apologies. Who did we hire as head coach for golf?
You would ask me that. His name escapes me, but I'll get it for you in a second. But Sean Campbell, who had a hole-in-one, he's actually taken over number 1 spot on the golf team over from Charlie Zielinski, and that's saying a lot. But okay. Sean had a hole-in-one about a week and a half ago. He shot
head coach, Tim, our new head coach, his name is Wes Burns.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say it's Wes. Yeah, I couldn't remember his last name. Yes. Comes highly regarded. Sean Campbell shot 66 today in the first round out at Indian Creek. We all know how tough that is. They're playing it at like 7,500 yards, and he shot 66, 5 under on the backside. What a round of golf. He shot even par the next round, so he's 6 under for the tournament, leading the tournament with 1 round to go tomorrow. So congratulations to him, and hope he gets it done tomorrow.
It's pretty darn good.
Then volleyball, they moved up to number 21 in the country. They're 12-3, 4-0 in the Big East. They've just rolled through the Big East season so far. And they go on the road, though. UConn knocked them off last year. So they take on UConn on the road Friday. So that'll be, their first real test, so to speak, in the Big East. And then later in the weekend, they will take on Providence. So that is your fall sports update. And now it's time to break down the conference schedule. We took a look at it a little bit on one of our previous shows. Ross and I looked at it just briefly, kind of scanned it. But I thought we kind of go down each game and kind of not predict a winner or loser, but just kind of see how the schedule flows for the Jays. So as you all know, they open it up on a Friday night at Marquette. It's a 7:30 tip. And then they come home for 2 straight games. They play Butler, 7 o'clock tip at CHI Health Center. And then the much talked about Christmas Day game against DePaul. That is a 3:30 tip on Fox. And you and I have talked a lot about that game, right, Ross?
We have. We spent a lot of energy on that game. Probably more energy that we spent on a DePaul game ever, but this one's a little bit different. So it's fitting.
I think the one thing before we get into more games, as you look at the schedule, they have 7 games on Big Fox. 7.
Yeah.
Not only that, they have a game on CBS, not CBS Sportsnet, but on CBS, the Pink Out game against Xavier.
Do you know much more about that? I don't know that we've ever played on CBS. That's usually, I feel like those games are usually reserved for like an SEC game or a Big Ten game.
I don't think so, unless maybe one of the Villanova games we had was on there.
Okay.
Over the years, but I don't recall that we were on CBS. But that's 8 prime, big network games.
Right.
Out of the 20 conference, that's almost half. That's mind blowing, really. But then, I kind of really haven't really dug into it much past that DePaul game because we talked a lot about that. But then we flip right around. We take like about a week off so the guys can go home for Christmas break, come back, and then we play Seton Hall at home, a 7:30 tip, a midweek game. So we flip right around and play, get another home game. So we have 3 home games in the first 4. And that usually has not been the case. It seems like we've gone on the road a lot early on in conference play. So that's a little bit different this year. Then we have our first Big Fox game against UConn. 11
Yeah.
o'clock tip on the road, 11 a.m. tip on the road on a Saturday out at Stores. So that's going to be a big time game. And then we follow that up with a road game against Xavier, midweek game on FS1. So that's a tough 2-game stretch on the road right there. UConn Xavier.
Oh my gosh, no doubt. I mean, two of the projected probably definitely projected top 4 teams preseason. To play back to back on the road is not going to be easy. But we'll see what the boys in blue are made of early on the road. They'll at least have four games under their belt in conference play. I mean, they've got, depending on how Marquette shakes out, they've got a real shot to go into UConn potentially 4-0 or 3-1. I mean, I think we would all agree it'd be sort of disappointing if they were going into Stores 2-2 at that point, but could end up being a heck of a 2-game stretch.
Yeah, I would say 3-1 at the least right there.
I agree.
Then we play 2. You think, okay, you're done with that stretch. But then we play 2 games that, first of all, we play Providence at home. They always play us tough. They always play us tough. So that's a tough battle at home on a Saturday afternoon.
They ducked us at home last year.
There you go. And then we turn around and go to a place that we can never make any shots, and that's at Butler. So
have not had a ton of success at Butler.
No. So that's 2 tough games right off the get-go. Then we flip that right around and come back with 2 back-to-back home games against St. John's, an 8 o'clock tip, and then they mentioned Xavier, the 11:15 game on CBS. And that is a pink-out game, and that is on a Saturday. Kind of odd. We seem to have pink-out games either a late afternoon or evening game. So it's a little bit different, but that'll be a great atmosphere, I think something Xavier, great to show the nation.
I think the Xavier game where we couldn't score for the first 10 minutes of the second half, I think that was the pink-out game last year.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm remembering correctly. I could be off, but I felt like it was.
Okay. Then we go on the road, take on Georgetown, win. Okay, that's on CBS. That's our only game on CBS. Oh, excuse me, we have 2 games on CBS Sportsnet, St. John's and Georgetown. The other thing I'm looking at too, we don't have very many 8 o'clock tips. Only 1 in conference schedule. So that's kind of nice.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Georgetown game, I mean, Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern. There might be 800 people total in that arena.
Oh, absolutely. And then game you've been talking about, 6:30 Saturday night, Villanova on Fox.
I don't think we've ever had a Villanova night game on a Saturday. I think this is the first time.
Yeah, not on a Saturday. I remember we have had some weeknight games, and then, like I said, that COVID game seemed to be, it was later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That was COVID season, so the arena was like half full. But
right.
Then we go on the road to Seton Hall, and then we come back home for another Fox tussle against UConn. 1 o'clock start on a Saturday.
We got kind of spoiled with the Saturday home games this year.
Yeah.
Villanova and UConn back to back. I mean, that's pretty
crazy.
Xavier, Villanova, UConn back to back Saturday home games is as good as it gets.
Yeah, we have, and then that stretch. I mean, we have Nova, Seton Hall, home to UConn, at Providence comes up next. That's a tough 4-game stretch there. At Providence, and then we come back home. I'm sorry, we go back on the road, I believe. Yes, we go on the road and play St. John's. So back-to-back home game or road games, I should say, with Providence, St. John's. I'm sure we'll just stay out there. And then we come home, take Marquette, who we will have gone almost 2 months in between games, 2 months between the time we first played them until we played them again at home. And then we'll go on the road at Villanova on a Saturday, 11 o'clock tip. That game on Big Fox as well. We'll play Georgetown at home, and then on a weeknight game, that'll be senior night, which is kind of unusual. We usually have that the last game. And then the last game will be on the road at DePaul on Big Fox. So that wraps up the schedule.
Should be fun. Should be awful fun.
Yeah, it's great that we have so many, as I said, so many nationally televised games, like big time television, Fox and CBS. And then also, like you mentioned, so many Saturday games, which is great. It's just
Fantastic.
fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to the season. Before we get into our final segment with some Zach asked us some Q&A here, I just want to talk about West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Robert Hogan and his staff do a fantastic job. He's my dentist. He will take care of any dental need you have. He discusses it all with you. He just doesn't go in there and, do some procedure that you're not sure about. He makes sure to understand exactly what you're getting into and what he's going to do, and gives you some options. Terrific staff, as I said. Call them up anytime. They're so helpful in working around your schedule. So that's West Pacific Dental Group and Dr. Robert Hogan, huge Jays fans. So go out and make them your dental option. Okay, Zach, I hope you can get through the segment. Zach's been under the weather a little bit. Can you throw some questions at Ross and I that we have today?
Yep, you got it.
All right.
So the first one being, what will be Coach Mac's biggest challenge with the team this year?
Ross, go ahead.
Distribution of minutes, at least initially. Mac and Mac's not unique in this regard. Most coaches, once they get into the thick of conference play, they like having a pretty tight 7-8 man rotation, and he's no different. So it's going to be interesting. He's got a lot of guys, a lot of talented bodies, and a lot of those talented bodies are vying for minutes and think they should be playing a lot of minutes. So how he divvies up those minutes, particularly in the non-conference, is going to be challenging, especially if some of the reports we're hearing from practices about, this guy's looked fantastic, this guy's looked fantastic, this guy's looked great, and they might all look great, but they all can't play. I mean, it's just an impossibility for them to all play the minutes they want to play. So I think that's probably his biggest challenge, and at least initially. I'm not as concerned about the hype that some people are concerned about. Obviously they are getting a lot of hype nationally, but I think these are a crew of guys that think they belong, and I don't know that will affect them near as much as some others might think it might.
Well, I think it will affect him.
You do?
Yeah, I think that's probably his biggest challenge. Yes, the minutes thing is, but that I think will tend to play itself out. Keeping those guys happy, that maybe some guys aren't getting the minutes they think they are. That's certainly, something to deal with. But I think the biggest challenge is going to be keeping them focused. Not so much in the non-conference, because, those first 4 games, they're going to win those 4 games. Okay. They just are. And then they're going to go out to Maui. Okay. They know the type of teams they're going to play out there. They're going to be stoked to play those teams. So that won't be, they're going to go to Texas. That, they're not going to look past Texas. Okay. But I think it's more when they get into conference season and they play, Butler at home, or DePaul at home, or, Providence at home. Maybe that, they maybe get off to a little bit of a slow start or something in conference. More so maybe on the home games, because the road games are, you're going into a hostile environment sometimes. Sometimes the home games are the toughest to get those guys up for, even though you have the home crowd behind you. We've seen it a lot at CHI. If there's not a lot to cheer about, it's hard for the crowd to get into the game, especially if the flow is kind of choppy.
Well, you're nicer about the crowd than I typically am. I think our crowd can be very, very bandwagony, and that doesn't make them unique. There's a lot of crowds in the country that are like that. The Butler home games, the Butler, when we play during the week, when we play the Butlers and DePauls and Georgetowns, of the conference during the week, the energy tends to be lacking, and it just is what it is. And so, to your point, I think those games could be challenging to get up for, if it's a 6 p.m. game on a Wednesday, and we're playing DePaul or whoever, and everyone's like, they're going to win anyways, and it's it's not as well attended, et cetera, et cetera. I think those ones could be challenging, but I don't know. I just think there's a maturity and a hungriness about this group. I just kind of sense that they won't have many of those, but we'll see. I hope not.
All right, Zach, question 2.
All right, question number 2 we got. Which sport will make the national championship finals of its sport? Those being the College Cup, the Volleyball Final Four, the women's basketball Final Four, rather, or as well, and then the College World Series. So which one of those would we expect for a team to make the national championship first?
Would make that, not necessarily national champion, but in the finals, whether it be a Final Four, Final 8 in baseball, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we've done it in soccer before. I think the next one. Wow, this is really hard.
See, I'd say women's volleyball.
Yeah, it's just that, we're at that Sweet 16, Final 32 level, and we just haven't ever gotten quite over the hump, to get to, I think we made one Elite 8 once. We haven't gotten to that hump, and we haven't been close to getting in that Final Four. So It just seems like until we need like about one more recruit, it seems always, or one more star player, one more piece. We're close. Don't get me wrong. Booth's just done an unbelievably fantastic job. I think as far as like, when I think of ease, like, I think, and this is going to sound strange, and I'm not talking next year or anything, but who knows when this will happen to any of these teams, right? I think women's basketball is probably not that far away either. But I think it's probably easier in baseball, it seems to me. Like, let's say if you get hot.
You get hot with the bat, yeah.
Yeah, we had that team many years ago that was in the Valley, and they were projected to do really well, and they just kind of floundered around in the middle of the standings all season long. They got in the Valley tournament and just swept through the Valley tournament, and then went on the regionals and took UCLA, a team that made the College World Series, right down to the wire. I mean, they win that game, and gosh, they would have probably won the regional, been in the Super Regional. I mean, look at they were one game away of Michigan. They had the lead against Michigan to make it to the Super Regionals. I just think you can have a run like that and then get to Super Regionals. Well, then it's just one more team you got to beat, right? And if you have a couple of really ace arms at the top of your rotation, you can win 2 games and get in. Now, do we have that? No. We got a ways to go there, I think, as far as ease, but I'm kind of leaning maybe toward the women's team. Now that we have UConn in our conference, we have really, everybody's going to up their level, because UConn's in our league now. And I think.
You're talking about women's basketball?
Yeah.
See, I think that one might be one of the harder ones. I know obviously Flan was just one game away from getting there this past year, but that tends to be women's basketball tends to be very top heavy.
Yes, you're right.
And so it very, very, very rarely do you see a lower seed sneak into kind of those final teams there. I would say both women's basketball and men's basketball are the hardest ones because, as we know in men's basketball, it happens from time to time where a lower seed gets in to the Final Four, but then every time that it's happened, then everybody goes back and looks at kind of their metrics all year, and they're really high up in like adjusted defensive efficiency, and just for whatever reason had a couple things not bounce their way and kind of were off the radar. But you got
UCLA comes to mind.
Yeah, like
2
you have
years
to
ago.
You have to be a really, 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 really good team to make the Final Four in men's basketball. So this team now does have the makings of that potentially. But nevertheless, even the really, really, really good teams in men's basketball, a lot of them don't make it every year. So I don't know. Men's and women's basketball seem to be the hardest to me.
10, 15 years ago, that was an easy question. You would just say men's soccer,
Yeah, right.
But we've gotten in, once we got the Big East, we got in a very difficult soccer conference, and our program's slipped a little bit, and Johnny's trying to bring her back now. All right, final question, Zach.
All right, final question. Which one team are you most scared of on our schedule?
Ross?
Gosh, that's a hard one. Probably Xavier. Although I don't know. I mean, if
No, I should preface. Are we talking whole season or just conference? I mean, I don't care how we do it, but
I don't. Okay, I guess the whole season. I would say probably Xavier. I mean, Xavier Villanova. I think those are. I, I'm kind of giving a cop out answer. Any one of the three of Xavier, Villanova, UConn. I think any one of those three could challenge us to win the Big East.
yeah, if you're just talking scared, like I'm scared we're going to lose this game, I'll do one conference, one non-conference. I guess non-conference to me, I'm going to go Texas Tech
Yeah, that's certainly up there.
just because of their defense. They're
Yep.
in Iowa State, they play the same kind of defense Iowa State, and Iowa State caused us so many problems last year.
Yep, I agree. I would say non-conference for me would be BYU, and that's strictly because BYU just bothers me. They always have, they always will. They just bug me. So
Conference wise, it's hard because I would normally say UConn, but we've handled UConn.
I know, but how much
we've
longer
had tremendous
can that
success
last?
against UConn.
I know, but how much longer can that last?
I know.
I have a bad feeling that might revert to the mean this year.
I wonder if Matt just has a coaching edge there. I don't know. A game like an in-game coaching edge, I guess. He seems to pull the right strings against them. I am going to kind of agree with you. I think potentially Xavier, especially on the road.
Yeah, no doubt.
Xavier game on the road, and that, that comes after, we're in a tough spot there because that comes right after UConn. So say we beat UConn again, now we're going to be like 5-0 or 4-1, and then going into Xavier, they're going to be so stoked, and yeah, it's going to be. Even if we lose the UConn game, then it's like, okay, we can't lose 2 in a row. Then there's a lot of pressure on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to agree with you on Xavier. All right. Well, thanks for the question, Zach. Appreciate it. We want to thank Ben Schultzberg for joining us. As I said, if you're not a member of BluejayBanter.com, you need to be, because Ben is an NIL partner with us this year. And as you saw tonight, he's just great to talk to and great to ask questions to. And we're going to be doing some Zooms that you'll be able to join as a member of BluejayBanter.com. He'll be giving us some Q&As throughout the season, probably once a week, give us some updates on what's going on in practice. And then, we'll be able to have him on the show and also have him on our post-game shows, which we're going to do. More to come on that, by the way. Thanks so much for joining us on our first show. More guests next week. I know I haven't lined up the guest lineup next week, but the following week, it will be after Big East Media Days. So we'll have a lot of interviews from the players at Big East Media Days. So thanks, Zach. Thanks, Ross. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.